Hey everyone, welcome back to the Easy Chat English podcast, where we chat in English and share some useful tips to improve your language skills. Today's topic is something that many of us struggle with: overthinking. What about you, Ethan? Do you consider yourself an overthinker?
Oh, absolutely. I used to be the kind of person whose mind was always racing, especially at night. I'd get stuck in my head worrying about every little thing. What about you?
Same here. Overthinking has been a challenge for me too. It's like my brain would start spiraling with thoughts, and before I knew it, I'd be caught in a web of worries. So today we'll discuss what overthinking is, why we do it, and share some tips on how to stop it. And of course, we'll include some useful words and expressions along the way.
Let's start with some signs that you might be overthinking. One big sign is when you second-guess yourself all the time. Like you think about a decision over and over, wondering if you made the right choice. I remember when I had to choose between two job offers, I kept replaying every detail in my head for weeks.
Oh, I totally relate. Another sign is what we call analysis paralysis. It's when you think so much about every possible outcome that you end up doing nothing at all. I had a friend who couldn't decide whether to move to a new city, and he spent so much time overanalyzing it that he missed the deadline for the moving bonus.
Yeah, that happens a lot. You might also find yourself caught up in rumination, which means going over the same negative thoughts again and again. It's like replaying an old movie in your mind.
Right, and that kind of rumination can really keep you up at night. It's exhausting. So why do you think we overthink, Ethan? What's behind it?
Well, a big reason is anxiety. When you're worried about the future or afraid of failure, it's easy to start overanalyzing everything. I used to worry about every little mistake I made at work, imagining the worst-case scenarios.
That sounds stressful, and fear of failure can definitely make people catastrophize or imagine that the worst possible outcome will happen. I think another reason is just being a bit of a worrywart, someone who tends to worry about everything.
That's true. Some people just naturally have a tendency to overthink. It's easy to overanalyze what someone said or how people might perceive you. Have you ever found yourself doing that?
Oh, absolutely. I'd find myself replaying conversations in my mind, wondering if I said something wrong. It's like a constant mind race.
Overthinking can really have a negative impact on our daily lives. For example, it can put a strain on relationships. If you're constantly second-guessing what someone meant, it can lead to misunderstandings.
That's so true. And it can even cause burnout because your mind is always working overtime. I remember a time when I was overthinking a project at work so much that I ended up feeling completely emotionally exhausted.
Yeah, it can be really draining. And sometimes overthinking leads to self-sabotage, like you talk yourself out of opportunities because you keep imagining all the things that could go wrong.
Definitely. It's like you're trying to protect yourself from failure, but you end up missing out on good things instead. And let's not forget how it affects our mindset. It can make you feel stuck. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Some practical tips to help stop overthinking. One thing that's helped me is practicing mindfulness. It's all about focusing on the present moment instead of getting lost in your thoughts.
Yes, mindfulness is great. Another thing that works for me is using grounding techniques like deep breathing or naming things I can see around me. It helps bring me back to reality when my mind is running wild.
That's a good one. I also try to reframe my thoughts. For example, instead of thinking, "What if I fail?" I try to think, "What if I succeed?" It's a simple perspective shift, but it can make a big difference.
I love that. And sometimes you just have to let go of things you can't control. It's easier said than done, but it's a real game changer.
Definitely. And if you find yourself paralyzed by thoughts, sometimes it helps to just take a small action. Like write down your thoughts or go for a walk. Anything to break the cycle.
Let's talk about building healthier thinking habits. One thing I do is keep a journal. Writing down my thoughts helps me organize them, and it stops me from ruminating too much.
That's a great tip. I also practice gratitude. When I focus on what I'm thankful for, it shifts my mind away from the negative.
Yes, gratitude is powerful. Another thing that helps is using positive affirmations. It's like reminding yourself that you're doing your best. and that it's okay not to be perfect.
I've also found that setting a time limit for worrying can be helpful. If I find myself stuck in negative thinking, I give myself 10 minutes to think about it, and then I move on.
I love that idea. It's a way to acknowledge your feelings without letting them take over. And remember, it's all about cognitive restructuring, changing the way we think over time.
You know, once I started overcoming my overthinking habits, I noticed I had so much more clarity in my life. I could make decisions without feeling paralyzed by doubt.
Me too. It's amazing how much peace of mind you gain when you stop overthinking. It feels like a weight has been lifted.
Yes, and it's like I've been able to break free from all those worries that used to hold me back. It's made me more confident in my choices.
Same here. I feel like I can focus more on the present, and it's helped me build a more positive mindset. It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth the effort.
And it's all about self-awareness, right? Understanding when we're overthinking and catching ourselves before we get stuck in those thought spirals.
So to recap, we've talked about the signs of overthinking, why we do it, and shared some practical tips for stopping it. Remember, everyone, it's important to take it one step at a time.
Absolutely. Don't expect to change your thinking habits overnight. It's all about making progress and being patient with yourself. Even small changes can make a big difference.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Many people struggle with overthinking, and it's something that you can learn to manage. Focus on those small victories along the way.
Yes, and keep reminding yourself it's all about progress, not perfection. So keep going and don't be too hard on yourself.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you found today's episode helpful. If you have any tips or stories about overcoming overthinking, feel free to share them with us on social media.
That's right. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. See you next time on the Easy Chat English podcast.
Bye for now.